Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I will be reading to you my first ever story, A Hero's Upbringing. I do have two things before I start. One of them is a warning. There are descriptions of blood and gore. The OC that I created for this story, her name is Violet Lane. She is, in this part of the story, 9 years old. Her quirks are Demon and QATB. We'll get more to that in the story. Chapter 1, Bad Memories. Violet's Point of View. The people of my village drag me to the gates, throwing me out onto the cold concrete. Leave, monster. A person with a quirk like yours is nothing but trouble, and will bring nothing but trouble to our village, the elder of the village said, looking at me in disgust. I clutch a hand over the bottom left half of my now bloodied face, looking at him in anger. I'm no monster. You're the monster, I say, standing up. Leave before I change my mind about letting you, he says, looking at me in anger. I turn around, my back facing the people of my village. I reach down, ripping the bottom of my shirt off and wrapping it over the bottom left of my face, trying to stop the bleeding as best as possible. I look over at my parents. My mom clutches onto the front of my father's shirt, crying hysterically, and my father looks at me in a look that could only be described as anger and disgust. I'll show you all, I say, my tail spiking up. I feel a cold shiver run down my spine as it does. I said, go, the elder says, pointing off into the woods. I look forward, then back at my parents again, then forward. I feel an ache in my heart. I wanted to stay, but I couldn't. The people of my village thought I was a monster. I was in their eyes. They didn't want me. My parents didn't want me either. My mother was crying because she had born a monster. I started to walk forward, those thoughts racing through my mind. Fine, I'll leave, I say, walking off into the cold, dark woods. Scene 2, 4 hours later. Shota Aizawa's point of view. I use my capture scarf to swing from building to building, chasing after a villain that had just robbed a jewelry store. When they run into the woods, crap, I mutter underneath my breath, swinging and dropping down at the tree line, chasing after him. I run for about 10 minutes. And when I look to my side, I see a small bloodied handprint on one of the tree limbs. I quickly turn, following the blood trail, finding it more important due to the size. After a few minutes of following the trail, I see a small girl laying on the ground. She couldn't have been older than maybe 9. I quickly run over to her, gently flipping her over onto her back. As I look down at her, I see how bad her wounds really are. Cuts, scratches, and bruises all over her. The bottom half of her face bloodied. Her clothes dirty and covered in her own blood. Damn it, I say, my voice a low growl. I pick her up gently, running towards Central Hospital. 15 minutes later, I burst through the emergency room doors. I need a doctor, I yell, running into the middle of the waiting room. A nurse quickly runs over to me, taking the girl into her arms gently, checking the girl's pulse. Get a stretcher, she yells, as another nurse runs over with one. They both gently lay the girl down, checking over the girl. One of the nurses yells, Get a surgeon. The bottom of her face looks destroyed. We need to get her into surgery ASAP, or she might not make it, the nurse yells, running the girl down the hallway with the other nurse and out of my sight. Scene 3, 2 days later. Violet's point of view. I slowly open my eyes, letting in a slow and shaky breath. I try to sit up, but someone's hand presses to my chest, stopping me. "You're still injured. You shouldn't sit up," a raspy man's voice says from beside me. I look over, seeing a man with long black hair, scarf around his neck, and deep gray eyes. "Who are you? Where am I?" I ask. "I'm Pro Hero Eraserhead, and you're in the hospital." "How did I get here?" I ask, looking at him, my brows furrowing in question. "I brought you here, found you in the woods, bloodied and beaten." "Do you remember what happened to you?" he asks. I turn my head away from him, looking up at the ceiling and closing my eyes. Yeah, I do. I remember." "Would you mind telling me what happened?" he asks. "Do I have to?" I say, looking back at him. He shakes his head slightly, letting out a heavy sigh. "You don't have to tell me yet," he says. "Okay," I say, looking back up at the ceiling. I bring a hand up to my face, feeling cold metal underneath my fingers. Your lower jaw was destroyed. They had to replace it with metal," the hero next to me says. I let out a slow, shaky breath, bringing a hand down from my face and laying it back to my side. I didn't think it was that bad," I say, closing my eyes tighter, trying to hold back tears. "I didn't say it was bad, kid. You're fine. You're all right. That's all that matters now," he says, trying to give me a reassuring smile. His smile was almost reassuring, but not quite with me. I knew the way he was looking at me. He didn't think that, or at least that's what I thought. He stands up, looking down at me. "Well, I'm going to leave you to get some rest now. You really should sleep. You're hurt. You just need to sleep." "And what's your name?" he asks. "I'm Violet Lane. Good to know. Now I'm going to leave you to get rest now," he says, turning around to leave. I grab his wrist gently, stopping him for a moment. Thank you. "Thank you for saving me," I say, letting go of his wrist and letting him walk out of the room. When he leaves, I close my eyes, letting sleep take over. Thank you guys so much for listening. That was chapter 1, and I will try to post every other week. Every week, I will try my best to post, and I apologize if I mispronounced words, if I stuttered. It's my first video, so I'm just a little nervous. Thank you all for listening. And I am so sorry for my notification sound. That's really embarrassing, so just ignore that in the back. And that's all for today, guys. Thank you for listening. Bye!